Hey man, so 2021 is done. It was like a blink of an eye on the heels of 2020, and it was a crazy year, but we made it through, and we had another great year. Actually, we were up 44% year over year from last year, so man, tell me about the year. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it was a huge growth year for us. I think we made tremendous strides in understanding our business, ourselves, what we want, what that means for our clients, what that means for the people that come into our organization. 110 homes was no joke. We looked at that and said, there's so much more to go. But our systems and processes improved so much. Our leadership improved so much. I think what we are being intentional with our conversations and what we're asking each other and challenging each other on and what we're asking our clients to do for us and with us is just going to make 2022 a really great year.
Yeah, I think the environment that we created just in terms of, the culture, the accountability, the results-driven focus, and then all of the support systems that we have along the way. I mean, it really made for a great year, despite how crazy it was with everything that was going on out in the world. It was definitely a bang-up year that we had, pushing through some goals. So, a record year. We're now into 2022. We are 5 days into it. We already have, a half dozen properties under contract, another half dozen or so coming soon listings. What is 2022 looking like for us in the Nomis Group?
Yeah, it's cool that we've gotten it to a really simple, attainable goal of 200 families and 24 agents. And we're already halfway there on the agent count, which is awesome. And we're already well on our way to the 200 count, which is awesome as well. And so it is just staying consistent to what we know is leading us to where we want to go. And again, following the systems, processes, schedules, accountability, all the meetings that we set up that have been really intentional, it's all going to get us where we want to go. The biggest thing that we need to be mindful about is making sure that we're being advocates for our business and telling other people to do the same for us, letting them know how to say it. I think so many people are happy to help, but they just don't know how to say it. And we've gotten so much better at teaching people what to say and how to say it in those awkward situations so they know it's like, hey, go talk to the Nomis Group.
Yeah.
They're going to help you. They're going to do the right thing. And then just send a group text.
Yeah.
And so that's been one of the things that we've been teaching everyone to do really well, and I think that'll lead to good results.
Yeah, something you and I were talking about was, Zig Ziglar said, if you help enough people get what they want, right, you'll have everything that you could have ever wanted. And I think that's been one of the big focus kind of changes, I think paradigm changes, that we were always, let's drive for our goal, right? You know what you're going to get. You're going to go close 30 homes or so on your own. I'm going to go close 30 homes on my own. And then we're going to drive the rest of the team to close, another, 40, 50 homes. We're going to push up over 100, 125 homes, right? And we're going to be there. And this year, I think we saw the evolution happen, I think probably Q3 into Q4, just of the evolution of A, accountability, B, speaking directly into any issues or items that we might see and having that transparent, real-life conversation, and then C, really getting focused on what is it that each one of our agents wants, right? And they all have different goals. We have one guy who wants to blow the roof off it and close 50, 60, 75 deals on his own. We have a brand new agent who wants to close, what is it like, I think 18 or 20 deals in her first year, so that we run the gamut there. But that has been, I think, one of the big paradigm shifts that I think we talk about it externally, right, for years, and we've read these books, but really practical implementation is a different thing. And I think we saw that paradigm shift. I saw you start to really push for that, and get in with each one of our leaders and one of our high performers and really start to drive their individual production. And I've seen the change in some of our leaders and the conversations they're having with people to have those conversations to say, hey, this is the goal that I'm looking for. Okay, great. Here's how I can help you, because it's holding them accountable to their goal, not to what we want or what we're looking for.
Which is the mistake that we had made in the past.
Yeah,
we were always pushing.
That's it.
We were pushing like, hey, because you said 12 or you said 24, but that wasn't really what they wanted. And we weren't digging deep enough to understand what that looked like for them. And now we understand that I don't care if you close 2 deals or 2 million, if you're a good cultural fit, if you can follow the systems and processes to lead to the goals that you want and you're happy, great, come on over. It's totally fine, because that's where we can operate to understand what can we do to help you and what you can do to help the company. And eventually that can turn, because we've seen people do 2 deals and all of a sudden they're closing 25.
I love the under promise, over deliver type deal, right? And that's where we're coming. We accept people wherever they're coming in at. They want to close 6 or 12 deals. That's great. We help them do that. and then some. And it's really cool, to kind of see when they blow through, they want to do 12 or 15 and they end up closing 22, 25, 30, or Massey, who closed 40 some deals this year, and just, made more money than he's ever made as a 21-year-old kid. And that's directly because of A, the systems, and B, our leadership team, from you all the way down to our leadership team, who are pouring into guys like him to have that success.
Yeah, and letting people determine what their goals are going to be. That is really what it's all come down to. And then communicating on a regular basis about what are you doing to get there. And it isn't just about the numbers anymore. It's really about the mindset. We've gotten so deep in understanding ourselves and how to get comfortable in having conversations and teaching that to where they get it. And then all of a sudden the results happen because they just have their heads in the right place. And they get comfortable being uncomfortable. We've pressed on that so much for so long that the results are really starting to come out in how people are interacting with others. So,
well, your mindset is what's going to hold you back, or it's going to allow you to rise to the top.
Yeah, crazy, absolutely nuts.
It is a big roadblock for some people, or it is a big accelerator for other people. So
yeah, and that's been a big thing, and that's one thing that you've always done a good job on. And what started all this too is talking about how we're thinking and what are we doing to get into leadership and understanding where our weak points are. And then, you went through this a couple months ago about blind spots, and us each understanding how that can play out. And I think that's what...
Self-awareness, that was a big thing that you and I focused on last year, because we had these blind spots,
Because we didn't know. We didn't know what we didn't know, but now we do, and then it's so much easier to teach other people to watch out for that. And when they're out in the public talking to clients, they can see that uncomfortable position to say, hey, I know what that's like, or I see where you're coming from. Let's talk about that for a second. And that makes the difference, because it is not just a sales technique, it's a relationship technique.
Yeah.
And so that's just one of the critical things I think we're really got momentum going into 2022 with.
Yeah, it's creating leaders, right? I mean, that's always been a mantra that we had, right? We have a vision, right, to create entree leaders who have fun, make money, make a difference. And so one of our big drives is to create those leaders, right? We've always said, I want the Googles and the Apples to come in and say, hey, if you want someone dynamic on your team, go find anyone from the Nomis Group and pluck them out. They're amazing leaders, right? And that's what we've really been driving, which is all about mindset, personal kind of accountability and ownership on that there. So I love Maxwell, right? He says, a leader who thinks is a leader and goes out and has no followers is merely taking a walk. And I think that was kind of a bit of an eye-opener, right? Because we had a few followers, and then we looked back, and then we didn't have any. And then we had some followers, but some were over there and some were over here. And I think we finally have figured out at least a little bit of leadership. There's so much more for us to learn and grow into.
It's the grace and compassion piece of it that has really made the change for us, I feel. The understanding, because before, like, why aren't they doing this? Yeah. Why can't you? Why? We've gone over this so many times.
We tried the Patriot mentality. Do your job. Do your job. It only works for Bill Belichick, apparently.
Yeah, right? And now having those conversations on a deeper level and giving it more grace and comfort and saying, okay, tell me more about that. And getting into that with people has really made the difference as well.
Yeah, opening it up. Well, that's cool. Hey, so let's talk about this. We are on pace to have a bang-up year, 200 families that we're striving to help. That's great. You guys are going to kill it. You're going to make a ton of money. Your agents are going to make a ton of money. What does that mean, though, in the community for Nomis Group? And how does that actually have a reverberating effect to the people that we're surrounded with, maybe that are outside of real estate?
Sure. It's pretty cool because you've coined the phrase, we're a charity disguised as a real estate company, basically. At our core, we just enjoy giving back and helping people. That is really what we do best. Now, you and I both know that without sales, we're not going to be able to do those things. You're not going to be able to make the impact you want without sales. And so that's the biggest thing that we've been pushing the team to understand is, let's go get the business so we can go help people more. So gosh, in 2022, Carry to Full Term is the charity that we work with. They've done an amazing job in the last 5 years helping expecting mothers in need. We're going to continue to pour into them. They want some new homes because they've got women that cannot get places to stay right now.
Yeah.
And that is one of the critical needs that we need to work on. So anyone out there in the community that knows of opportunities that could be potential housing for them, let us know. We need to dig into that quite a bit. Financing for them is a big thing. How can we get money to buy those homes? Because we have a few in mind that we can get, but yet they don't have the $500,000 to get those homes.
Yep.
And so how do we finance that and figure that out?
Well, speaking of Carry to Full Term, congratulations. You've been accepted as a board member,
That's
new
cool.
board member on there. So that's super exciting to have a little bit more pull and sway and responsibility to kind of help that out. I mean, I feel like, you, our organization, I've kind of been a Quasimodo board member anyway for the past 3, 4, 5 years. We've been partnered with them, but super excited to have you on the board there with them now there. I am curious kind of to see how are we going to actually engage in 2022 in terms of events and engagement, with Carried to Full Term specifically.
Yeah, continue to expose everything we possibly can to the public to get involved with them. So whether it's small events that we're going to get with individual people that we know, large events with the golf tournament that's going to benefit them in April, the scavenger hunt that's happening, I think, in February or March down in D.C., and then looking for other opportunities throughout the year to get them involved. They do the Jazz on the Lawn, which is really, really cool. So they'll do that again.
We'll do our annual we coined it like a Blue Day, right? Yeah. Where we build, love, uplift, and empower people in the community there. And so we'll spend a lot of time over there as well. We spend usually a day over there kind of helping to do whatever miscellaneous things they need done there.
Yeah, we've painted that house. We've gardened that house. We've delivered goods to that house. We tried to set up a playground that someone donated.
Playground, yes,
but
that we
ended up tearing it down because it was rotten as can be. It was all in good heart, though.
Yeah.
Continue to look for ways to impact them that way.
We're giving back, too, just in terms of our time. You've got, some people are doing some mentorship over there. People are giving in time just in terms of volunteer time to give back. So lots of opportunities that our organization is engaging with, not just Carried to Full Term, but the community as a whole. Anytime we've been able to see someone in need, we're there to kind of lend that hand.
And that's kind of the thing. Carried to Full Term is our go-to charity. That's who we partner with. However, I think we've taken opportunities every other step of the way to help people in need wherever that comes along. We've talked about donating our time if someone needed a hand with a move that just wasn't capable. They were older, they had physical issues or ailments that they couldn't do it, so we've volunteered our time that way. We've picked up washers and dryers.
It's
you remember that have totally dumped on us? And stuff like that. So just keep looking for ways to give back.
Cool. So we're gonna have a big year, right, in real estate. We are looking to add agents. We're looking to add administrative staff. We add some videographers. We've got a social media team, a marketing team. We've got a sales team, an operations team. We're continuing to grow. If someone's interested in real estate, what should they do? Simply
reach out. I think we've gotten really great at having a conversation with people about what this business truly is.
Yeah.
So many people say, I love helping people and I want to help them buy homes. And I think at the core, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
But there are so many things truly related to it being a sales environment that you need to be aware of before you jump full into this that I wasn't aware of when I started. And so over the last 10 years of us being in this industry, we've learned what to tell people up front so they can make an educated decision if this is the right move for them or not. Because as you know, what the statistics say, 95% of agents fail or quit in less than a year. Is that right? I think it's right around there, isn't it?
I think it's like 90% of agents who get their license, are out of the business in the first 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, and it's because they're not given any guidance. And I think that's one of the big things that unfortunately our industry does a terrible job at, is telling people what this is truly like when they get into it and giving them the systems, processes, and tools that each of these brokers promise and they don't get when they start out. And that's what we've gotten really good at, is showing people how to win early on and what it really takes to do this. And so I would say if you're thinking about getting into this business, is just give us a call. We'll have a real conversation with you for 15 minutes and see where it goes. We'll give you all the avenues. We'll show you what you need to do. And then you can make an educated decision. So
I call it a common theme, which is combating the media. And in our industry, the media is HGTV, right? Like the classic, let me show 3 houses to, these 2 teachers who have $1 million budget, and we're going to pick this one. So I think there's some combating of the HGTV. There's some combating of, what is it, like the $1 million listings, LA and New York and all those. So I think there's this glamorized, version of real estate, and then people get a license and show up, and we're like, pick up the phone and call your people, and they're like, what? I got the license. Deals are just going to show up, and we're like, that's not exactly how that happens.
One of the many myths, right?
Yeah, that's great that Ryan Searhart could do that.
Well, but you actually dig in to watch some of his videos too, and you will see that how much the hard work is there.
Well,
at one point he wasn't gray.
Yeah, well, that's true, right? and it's like us too. At the same time, the ability for us to actually implement that, right, and show this is what real life real estate looks like, right? Because he put in the time to be able to do that and to be able to have that opportunity. It didn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
So you've got the Ryan Searhans or whatever. You've got these large organizations, some corporate organizations. You got the Zillows of the world moving in who were helping agents. We're not going to be a broker. Now all of a sudden they're a tech company that is a broker. How is that disrupting
their business models? Is first of all, right? Zillow is a business model. They had a model of advertising and putting out content that would allow people to easily search homes because, again, unfortunately, the real estate industry as a whole was not doing a good job at promoting the agent as the professional and the person to go to if you have real questions about how to educate yourself on the market. So Zillow took advantage of that. And our industry does a poor job in that aspect, right? And that's why we are different, because that is one of our biggest goals, is to educate people. When you look at someone like Ryan Serra and the other people see a $1 million listing, honestly, that just comes down to the hustle.
Yeah.
They have just put in hours and hours and hours, just like you and I have, to build our businesses. Ryan was probably a little more comfortable at getting in front of the camera than I was to begin with.
Sure.
He's also in New York City. I haven't seen $1 Million DC yet. Maybe that's what we should jump on next.
Well, you say he's probably a little more comfortable, but ironically enough, though, I bet he probably was uncomfortable in the beginning as well at some point. I don't know.
Sure.
Too many people are super comfortable.
He's been around for it was, it's got to be 8 years ago or more when I think that first episode of that came out. Siva and I used to watch it. It was good. I got some good tips from that show as well.
Yeah. My favorite tip that you came around and would say all the time: expansion, always.
And always, right? I like that.
Stop
I thought that was
saying
good.
that.
I thought that was good.
Yeah, it was.
So, and then the other ones are just niche businesses.
Yeah.
I think I was reading about real estate investment trusts and mortgage investment trusts and things like that. It is specific businesses. We didn't speak about this, but we are continuing to expand into those other avenues as well. Mortgage, title, property management. Those are three of the big ones that come up. And instead of being focused on just one, we have a focus on all of them because we see them as being expansion opportunities.
There are ancillary businesses that allow us to give a holistic, amazing experience to each and every one of our clients. It gives us the ability to control it, which allows us then to create a smooth process from start to finish. And if there is a hiccup along the way, knowing that we actually have relationships with all three of those avenues gives us the ability to maybe push and pull and say, hey, let's make sure that this doesn't happen and make it smooth for the client there. So just more control over an amazing client experience.
And the other thing that comes to mind when you're speaking about those big corporations and things like that is that started with someone doing the hard work to get that money lined up to start that business. Now, once they got that business started, there are still so many people behind the scenes that are doing the same hard work that we're doing right now to build our business. So I don't really think they're that much different other than just time.
Yeah.
It's time on the water.
Well, every business started at zero, right?
Yeah, and we've been at this for
some started at negative.
4 years. Yeah, right. Thank God we've never been there.
Right.
4 years, and most of these corporations and companies have been around for tens of years.
Well, it's interesting, because again, some of the companies that they say comparison is the basis of all unhappiness, right? So we're not comparing ourselves, but I think there's at least a mark to say, hey, that's where we can shoot for. We know that for sure that's possible. Not that we set goals on what's possible. We believe in the impossible, right? Because you can't spell impossible without the word I'm possible. And so we're always looking at what's out there, but there are some big firms that have big numbers, and we say, great, if they can do it, well, what do we have to do and what do we have to change in order of thinking and then, systems, right, to get to that. And some of it is time on water, but like you said, it's interesting because we're looking at these large firms that have been around 10, 12, 15, 20 years, and here we are, wee little Nomis, right, finishing up year 4, and yet we're competing and looking to how do we actually, take ground and make up ground on that there. So
and adapting and using the models in front of us as well to grow faster. I mean, we're learning quickly because we are being resourceful. We are looking for all those ways to collaborate with people that have been there and done that. And we're doing a really good job at connecting with them too. And we've got a lot of relationships built now. And that's the other advantage to our clients and people that want to get into this industry as agents. We've got the resources to put them in a good spot. Honestly, that is the number one struggle that I have with all of this, is how do I get people out in the world to actually understand that it matters who you work with. Yeah. That it matters when you're thinking about buying, and don't have the conversation 2 weeks before you're thinking about it. Have it 2 months or 2 years.
Yeah.
Have the conversation up front to get down to what is going to matter when you're ready to make that move, whether it's the career or whether it's the purchase or the sale or the investment. like have the opportunity to get educated and know that it matters who you call.
I think
what I
about
start with most.
Yeah, I think about, when I think about people, I'm thinking about R&R, and no, I'm not talking about rest and relaxation. I'm thinking about relationship and resources. What does this relationship look like, between us, right? Are you bringing value to that relationship? Is it reciprocal? And then what resources can you actually apply to them? And that's, I think, one reason we've been able to win really big here at the Nomis Group is we care so much about relationships, right? One of the things we always say is relationships only fail for one of two reasons: mismanaged expectation or lack of communication, right? And so we're constantly communicating with our people and setting those expectations. But what do they say? People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. But I always tell our team, there's a second piece to that. Once they know you care, you damn well better know something, right? And that's where I feel like the resource piece comes in, right? Because relationship is one thing if people can know us, like us, and trust us, but do you have the resources then to actually get the job done at a high level? And that is what we have spent the last 4 years crafting and building, is world-class resources and systems that are able to deliver A, for our clients, a world-class product and experience, and B, for our agents, right, on the back end, so that they can do more business and serve more clients at the highest level possible. So I think it's all about R&R on both sides: rest and relaxation, and relationships and resources while we're out driving.
And we've never been afraid to make mistakes either. And I think that's something that is important to let people know about our business. Is we've been really good at being financially responsible in most scenarios where we, haven't put anyone in a bad spot. We also have taken risk to learn. And that has benefited us internally, and it's also benefited our clients. And we've put a lot of people in good spots by telling them how to take the right risk, investing in other properties out of state, investing in money in real estate investment trusts. There's lots of different things that we've taught people how to do because we've taken the risk ourselves. Yeah. So it's like put your money where your mouth is type stuff.
Well, good point, right? So we've got resources, we're building relationships there. What does that mean, though, for our clients moving into 2022, right? Because there's a lot happening, right? So let's look at some of the economic factors and things that are happening out there right now. We have, the Fed has announced 2 or 3 rate hikes that are going to happen this year, right? So first I'm thinking, what is it that we should be communicating to our clients, and what can they proactively do, right, knowing that rates are going to go up? Right, so I'd say the first thing is, for anyone who's renting, right, or thinking about buying, what are we telling them, knowing that the rate hike is coming?
Yeah, the first thing that I think needs to happen
getting a home.
Back to is have the educational conversation about what your life looks like.
Yeah,
there are so many pieces to the puzzle that should be put together if you're going to buy a home soon, and that really looks like what does it mean for you in the long run? Do you intend on staying in the area for a while? What does it look like on a monthly basis? Do you understand what a down payment is? What does that look like financially for your career, and what all that comes into play? So having a conversation first and foremost about buying is really important. And if that's something that you're thinking about doing this year, call now. Let's have the conversation. Secondly, you need to learn how to be comfortable competing and how to make quick decisions. Yeah. This market is not changing. It may get a little bit more inventory at some point, but beyond that, I don't think it's really going to do anything different. Prices are still going to continue to move in an upward trend. It will not be 19% as it was last year. That was insane.
It was.
But I mean, the normal 3 to 5% growth is going to continue. At least.
I still expect more than that. Even to be honest, I feel like this is classic supply and demand, right? I don't feel like we have a ton of inventory out there, nor will we. But we will see a growing inventory. I still expect to see maybe double-digit growth, maybe 10, 11, 12%.
The point is it's going to move, and it's going to continue to do what it's doing. And so if you thought about waiting...
You can't take advantage of an upward market unless you're in the market.
Yeah, right.
Right? So you have to buy a home, right? You have to be in a home in order to take advantage of that 10%, or more, give or take.
And you need to do the math on what it looks like to continue to be in your current situation versus what it will be to buy a home.
Yeah.
That's really all it comes down to, is what does the numbers look like and what will it do for you in the long run? That's what our job is to guide you through that process to make a good financial decision. But you're right, rates are not changing.
Well, prices are going to Rates are going to go up, right? I believe rates will go up, which means, right, take advantage of it, right? So A, if you're renting, right, I'd be looking to get into a home now, right, so that you can lock in a low interest rate. B, if you're thinking about selling or moving up, a move-up buyer, I would tell you do it sooner rather than later. Lock in 3.25% now rather than 4% on an $800,000 property versus versus 3.25 that you have, that you could get now. So
Yeah.
I would say with rates moving up, if you're renting, get into a house. If you're thinking about maybe moving up, do that sooner rather than later. Additionally, you're going to get a low interest rate, but additionally, you're going to be able to take advantage of the upward moving market and get that appreciation on a home. The other thing I see is if that in fact happens, Ryan, and prices go up, that means tax bills will go up, right? Is there anything that I could do to maybe, appeal or slow that down or fight maybe that tax bill there, that comes in on my house as prices are going up? You can kind of appeal a little bit of it, you can't appeal your tax bill there, so there's just some opportunity there to be able to take advantage of that. But I think the biggest thing is that, with an upward moving economy like we have, you have to be in the market. I think that's the biggest thing in order to take advantage of it. To take advantage of low interest rates and to take advantage, of a home appreciation, you've got to be in the market flat out.
Yeah. The bottom line is owning a home is always going to be better than renting a home.
For the most part, right? Over the long haul, if you were planning on renting more than maybe 2 years, you should heavily consider buying a property in there. Here's the other thing. Last year, I don't know if you know this, rental prices went up 17%.
Absolutely. Rental market's been just as competitive as the buying
crazy.
market has. Yeah.
So now you're going to pay even more for renting to have nothing at the end of it except for, hey, I had a nice experience in this house, versus had you got into a home, right, you would not have been paying 17% more. You would have been earning 10, 15, 19% growth that we had, in the market here in the DMV area.
And this all comes back to where people keep saying, well, I'm going to wait for the market to slow down, or I'm going to wait for this to crash, and this and that. The reality is, and I still don't know if anyone really remembers this, what happened back in the early 2000s was poor lending practices. Mm-hmm. That was not anything other than the banks taking advantage of the consumer and the consumer not educating themselves on what they were getting into. And that's why people that some of them didn't even have any jobs and got a $500,000 loan.
That's crazy.
At this point, when you go to get qualified for a mortgage, they basically ask for your firstborn child and everything else to make sure that you're square.
Yep.
So the default rates are not ever going to be what they were back then.
Yep.
So the decline is not going to be what you think it's going to be. And it goes into what you said about rates moving up and prices continuing to rise. The opportunity is now if you intend on staying at home more than 2 or 3 years. So the idea of waiting for the market to turn, it's not. Well, and inflation is showing that across the board too, economically.
And here we live in a bit of a bubble, right? Here in the DC area, but
very transient environment.
Yeah, so people saying that they're waiting for the market to slow down. Slow down to what? The way that I've described the market over the last 2 year, right? And even I think in the next 12 to 24 months is, okay, so here's where we're at last year. We were driving down the market driving through the market, selling homes, right, at 100 mile an hour. Right, and then all of a sudden, some things changed a little bit, and we slowed down. We pulled back a little bit. However, we were still speeding down the highway at 85 mile an hour, right? And I feel like that's where we're at, because they're just solid economic things that you could put into play, which is supply and demand. These are not bad lending practices. These are low interest rates that are driving more buyers into the market. It's an upward moving market that are driving more buyers into getting a house into the market, and you have low inventory. Why low inventory? Builders have slowed down how much they're building, right? Because they didn't want to get caught with their pants down. Secondly, prices of supply and material have gone up. And then thirdly, when you look at just the overall market.
The overall market is going to continue to go in an upward trend. That's all there is to it at the bottom line. Nothing more to it. The one thing that we haven't talked about, we should talk about, is if you are selling a home and you have to sell that home in order to buy another home. We have so many people that say, I'm going to wait to find the house I want before I put my home on the market. So talk a little bit about that and what that should look like, and what are people protected by? Because I think we again, another message to get out to the public is how you're contractually protected against losing your home or being homeless, is what people say all the time. So
the first thing that I'm saying, or at least asking, right, and we kind of take this consultative approach. We don't tend to tell people what to do. We present options and a menu of options and say, hey, you can do this, and here's what the potential, pitfalls are. Here's the advantages. But the first thing is, someone says that I'm going to buy before I sell. The first thing I'm asking is that even possible?
Right.
Right? Are you able to purchase a house without having to sell?
And what do you mean
house?
by that?
Well, right. So, I would say the majority of people, in order to buy a new house, let's say that you own a $400,000 townhouse, you want to move into a single family at $750,000. In order to buy that $750,000 single family house, you're going to have to sell your current townhouse at $400,000 in order to take some of those proceeds and buy the house. right? Most people are going to have to do that. But my question to someone always is before, do you actually have to sell the house in order to buy? And if the answer is no, well, hey, we're in a good spot then, right? You can.
How do they find that out? Sorry, how do they find that out though?
Right?
How do I know if I have to sell in order to buy?
Yeah,
you know,
I mean, we better be talking to one of our lender partners, and having that discussion. And they're to say, hey, you can actually afford to do this, right? And that's something that, again, we do on our consult, right? Before we're even going out and looking at, houses, before we're going out and selling a home, putting the sign in the yard, right? Unleashing a marketing, power marketing, display for the home. We are actually going to have that consult and say, hey, does it make sense, and are you able to actually purchase this, right? What does that payment look like? Because maybe they could do it, they have less money to put down, maybe the payment's a little higher, but then they refi shortly after selling or something, right? So again, our job is just to create a menu of options for them. That's the first thing I'm doing.
And the other thing real quick that again, why it matters when you work with us versus other people is that if you can, and it makes sense for you to keep that home and actually make money on a monthly basis, I'm going to advise you to keep the home as an investment versus selling. Now that doesn't benefit me necessarily from a make money, put food on the table standpoint, but that will matter in the long run for me, and it's the right thing to do. And so if you can keep that as an investment property, I'm advising you to do that to begin with.
100%.
Right?
And we could point out dozens of people that we've done. Yeah. Your average agent or your commission-driven agent or your part-time agent who doesn't even know to have that conversation, right, isn't going to have it with you. And that is why it matters who you work with. I think specifically, for me, just recently, I had my neighbors who wanted to buy a house. They were looking to buy the house, and they said, hey, we can sell this and move in. I said, well, let's talk about where you're at financially with your current townhouse. Ends up, they could totally cash flow on that property. I think it was like $700-800.
Yeah.
They can keep it, and they could buy the other property with no problem.
And what does that $800 do for them on their next mortgage?
That's right. It's helping or knock
whatever
that
else
down.
they want to spend it on.
But what it does, though, I'll tell you what it's done. Not the $800, but being able to hold that townhouse. It's given them an asset that someone else is paying down because they have someone in there who had a 3-year lease.
Yeah.
Right? So they have a guaranteed renter in there for 3 years paying down their mortgage. Now, if they can't find a renter after that, well, great. Then I'll help them sell it. But chances are in this type of rental market and the home they have, it's a nice home, they're not going to have any problem getting another tenant for that. So they can continue to allow that home to be paid down. Why? Because I had the conversation with them. They were like, wait, I could keep this and make money.
So do all you guys understand the reason why we want to have the conversation up front about this whole process? That's what it is. It is. It really comes down to, and that's why it's so variant and different every time as well. Every situation is different. People want blanketed answers, and it can't be that way.
No.
It's every situation is different because all of us, between different households, household income, kids, family, no family, I travel, I don't, I'm cool with roommates, I'm not, the list goes on and on. Do you need the money?
Do you not need the money?
Right.
What does that payment look like on the next one? I mean, there's a lot to go into and discuss.
That's why you want to have that conversation first and foremost is, do I need to sell? And if I do, what's it look like? Okay, so great. So yes, I do have to sell my home before I purchase, but I still don't want to do that. I don't want to put my home in the market and before I find another place. Am I going to be able to find a home?
No.
Okay, why?
Next question.
Right, it's true. It's not.
I mean, of course we're gonna. We are that blunt and straightforward because people do need to hear that. But then we do obviously elaborate on that. And the point being is that when you go in, it's a super competitive market right now. And if you go in and you have a home sale contingency. Let's just say you just have that home sale contingency. I have to sell this house in order to purchase your house, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. And they have your offer and they have one other offer. And that other offer says, no, I don't need to sell anything. I want to purchase this and I can close in 23 days. Which offer do you think they're going to go with?
Right.
Even in a hot market, knowing darn well that your house is going to sell like that, it's still one more potential hiccup that a seller would not want to deal with. I would not be recommending or advising my seller to take that offer. I'd be telling them to take the one with as few or the least amount of contingencies as possible.
Yep.
And so what we're doing when we're sitting down with our sellers is saying, hey, in order to make you as competitive as possible, in order to make your offer look super sexy and get the sellers to take it, we want to make sure that we can remove as many of these contingencies. And that is why we want to, at a minimum, have the home on the market, most likely under contract and through all contingencies before we really have a super competitive offer that we could put in on the other end.
And what we need to teach people about that whole process is that once you are under contract with the purchaser on your home, you are still protected to not be homeless.
Why? Tell me about that.
Well, because we're smart and we know how to actually do
There
this
you go.
deal to make sure that it's outlined contractually. But what we do is we have stipulations we put in the contract that says purchaser agrees to give seller X number of days to find another home. And usually it's between 30 and 60, right? And say we get to day 28 and you haven't found a home yet. Well, guess what? We have 2 days to renegotiate. So we go back to the buyer and say, hey, no, we haven't found a home yet. We need 30 more days. In this market that we've been in for 18 months now, the buyer is going to say, okay, I'll give you whatever time you need, because they know finding another home and then winning that home is really difficult. So they're going to extend that timeline to probably whatever you want.
Yeah.
And so that's how you're protected to have your home under contract. And so you can go find another home, and that hopefully that seller is willing to do that with you. And guess what? Half of those sellers are in the same boat you are.
Yep.
They're in the same boat. So everyone's willing to play ball, but just know that you are contractually protected. And that's another reason why working with us matters, is because we understand how to put that in there to protect you.
And back to R&R, right? Relationships. I mean, how many deals have we won because of the relationship that we have had with the other agent on the other side, or the ability to create relationship with that agent on the other side? I can't tell you how many times I've received an offer on one of our listings, no phone call. Maybe I got a text, did you get my offer? I'm like, who is this, right? You know, we're calling, we're emailing, we're sending flowers and cookies and
we tell the lender to call,
and
we tell our other parties that we work with to call on our behalf as well, to explain, hey, we're good people and we'll get this deal done. And that's half the battle, because so many people put in contracts that they can't even follow through on. They haven't been even pre-qualified correctly.
Yeah.
So,
being able to navigate that space is so key in this market. You know, even if you're buying or selling in a hot market, right? You know, you don't want to leave any money on the table there, you know. And so that's why I just have found it so beneficial to be able to provide the services that we provide to the clients.
So quick recap, right? So buyers moving into 2022, it's really no different than 2021. Be ready to compete, get pre-qualified, be prepared to make quick decisions, and understand what contingencies mean and which ones you can remove to be as competitive as possible.
And
right?
know that every month that you wait to buy a home is a month that you're missing out on equity and going to pay more for the same amount of house, because interest rates are going up.
And then as a seller, the best thing you can do is put yourself in a position to have your home in a good condition, because you want to sell it for the most money, of course, and then just be prepared to have it under contract so you can go find another home, and you're pretty much in the driver's seat as a seller. It's not that complicated.
It's not, but you want to make sure that you're working with a professional like you or someone from our team, because it's not. You can sell your home. Listen, let me be completely honest. Let me get some agents hijacked out there. You can sell your home by yourself in this market. You do not need me. Having said that, you also can leave tens of thousands of dollars on the table that you did not know about, or be out negotiated, or mispriced your home. And if you missed that mark by $15K or so, all of a sudden you left $15,000, $20,000 on the table. You were out negotiated, right? There are lots of different things that we've been able to maneuver, right? I got an agent who actually, I negotiated, the appraisal came in, I think like $20K over where I got the property at. I made them pay for the rent back. Ryan, rent backs in the last 18, 24 months are the sellers paying for rent backs for the most part in these situations.
No, they're non-existent.
No! The buyers are like, take it for free, take my kid.
60 days.
Yes. Yeah. I made the sellers pay for their own rent back in there. Why? Because I out-negotiated the agent. I'm not knocking the other agent. It's just because I know what I'm doing, and we've done so many of these, right? That experience matters, right? Mm-hmm. And so, you could sell your house on your own, but why not sell it with a professional to make sure that we net you more money than what you could net on your own?
We earn our money. That is for 100%. Sure. We earn our income. So, cool.
100%.
So, talking about, trends that are coming in 2022. Investing in real estate has become almost trendy, right? I mean, everyone's like, how do I invest in real estate? Everyone's looking for this. We've been watching Bigger Pockets and those other podcasts for years. Yeah. We've flipped homes. We've taken over mortgages. Yeah. We've done wholesale deals. We've done all of those things. But if you're a normal average Joe consumer and not a professional like we are, you're not going to do those things most of the time. You're not going to jump into something like that because it takes a lot of time. So you're always looking for, well, how do I invest in real estate? And a lot of those things you've always heard is, oh, I need a bunch of money. I need 25% down because an investment property. So, if you're buying a $500,000 home, that's $100,000, right? That's $125,000. Anyway, it's a lot. And so what these other mainstream companies are now doing are lowering the barrier for investors to invest. So some of us have heard of like Fundrise. FinTech is one that we're reading about, where they're having that barrier lower for people to get in. So as professionals, when we're working with our clients, one of the things that we can help them do, and a trend in 2022, is tell them what to do with that equity. You want to be a hands-off investor, right? And for the time being, we can direct them where to put that. We have some projects that we're doing. We're also looking to build our own company to do that internally with them. So that was a big one. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think, there's, real estate has always been a leverage point, for wealth building. I think it was 80% of millionaires, have built their wealth or a significant portion of their wealth through real estate. And so I feel like, the common man or woman has always wanted to get into real estate. I believe it's been glamourized, right? Is that a word? Glamourized?
I'm going to check on that one.
Right, it's been glamorized.
Glamorized, there it is.
Let's just add a few letters in there. Shout out to my brother. Just add in some letters. But it's been glamorized, right, through the HGTVs, right? Through the flip this house and love it or list it, right? And so I think that the common person has wanted to get in, trying to find ways to get in. I think some of it has been through trial and error. Some of it has been through they stumble across a real estate agent like myself or you and said, okay, we'll invest with them. But more recently, what you were just speaking to is you've got these REITs, these real estate investment trusts, right? You've got these different companies that are saying, hey, we've got a portfolio, and you do not have to be an accredited investor with $250,000 of liquid cash that you could lose potentially, right? Mm-hmm. You could be a smaller investor with $25,000 that you could put into these investments there. So I think we for a long time have maybe understood the potential power of real estate. What these tech companies and some of these larger organizations are doing, I think, is maybe bringing it down to the real world level for people to be able to invest. It's just something that the internet, I think, has leveled the playing field a lot. It's brought a lot more information into the forefront. It's put it right at the end of people's fingers, not just the real estate agent or the mortgage broker or this investor or that investor or this large company. It's putting it at the hands of every single consumer and person that's out there, and they're able to get the same information, right? And now we can actually plug in. The question is, who's aggregating or grabbing that information? Who's putting all that money in together and able to do that? And that's what these REITs are doing and other organizations that are able to do these things.
And let me preface my comment by saying this is not financial advice or anything of the sort, but like what I've learned is that 401ks, and this is a big one for me. I had an aunt and uncle that worked 40 years for GM, and they lost the majority of that back when the crash happened. Yeah. They had no control over that money at all. Bonds, it's not anything substantial return-wise at the moment. So yeah, people turn to real estate, and the cool thing about what you just mentioned is how tech has changed that, and how you don't have to have hundreds of thousands of dollars to invest. So you as consumers need to know that whether it's 500, 5,000, 50,000, 500,000, or 5 million, you have options to invest in real estate. And the returns that some of these companies are offering are solid, in between 8 and 12% on a regular basis. That's not bad. That's not bad year over year. And if you compound it and look for those ways to continue to invest, it can be really beneficial. So I think that's one of the big things to look out for, is how trading real estate is becoming a reality of our world now, just like stocks and things like that. So
the reality of the world, I mean, we could do a whole nother conversation about this as we talk about the reality of the world, talking about virtual reality and where some of this is going in terms of, the real estate world, online real estate. We've got this Web 3.0, we've got virtual reality where there has already been homes that have been virtually sold. I think Bitcoin was used to purchase that, but you've got crypto that's out there now. We're using crypto to buy homes in the virtual world, and my head is already blown right now.
And you just hit on two of the other ones. That is a big one.
So talk to me a little bit about some of that, Ryan, about virtual reality, about crypto, about some of those things that are happening, because the world as a whole is changing.
Yeah. So the old white guy syndrome really hits us right here, doesn't it? Because we have an old school mentality of where we were raised, how hard work matters, how to save money, how to, pour into all that kind of stuff. I have had difficulty understanding cryptocurrency and virtual reality and how that all plays into day-to-day life. There is a massive reality, and it is in real estate. Mm-hmm. People are buying homes sight unseen or virtual, being able to tour it, like you said. 3D tours and way photography and technology can get into a home and have it be documented in a way where someone doesn't have to be there physically is happening.
Yeah.
It's happening a lot.
Well, and we're seeing that change, right? I mean, when they say when you move from, 10K to 12K to 15K in terms of visual, sight, that you can't tell the difference between virtual reality and reality there. And these things are now, we see the big Oculus things, right?
Yeah.
But they're getting to where they're small, like glasses that you could put on, and literally you could walk through the whole house.
But I'd love
you
to
could
be able
overseas.
to. I've helped people buy homes sight unseen from Hawaii, and they saw the house, but it was with me doing, FaceTime, right? Yeah. But if I could put on goggles and they could see me walking around specifically, that would give them a better view. I'd be able to tour the home better as well so they could see it. And then the contingencies are still there from home inspections and stuff like that to make sure they're in a good spot. So yes, virtual reality is changing real estate. You hit on another one there that I read about that is going to happen very soon. Bitcoin it already has on some level. People in New York and some other spots have bought homes with cryptocurrency. But it is going to be a reality bigger and bigger year over year. We'll see how far that gets in 2022. But a lot of people say it's going to happen, that you can go buy a home with Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies. So be aware and stretch your minds to start to understand these things because, as a 42-year-old white dude with 3 kids in America, I need to wrap my head around it because I've got at least 30 more years on this world, and that's a long time.
Well, I think that's a great point. I think that the biggest thing is that don't stick your head in the sand like an ostrich and say, I just don't know, I can't get it, right? Because I could probably be guilty of doing some of that. But what I found is you got to dig in a little bit, right? Go to Barnes and Noble, right? Here's the old mentality, right? Go to Barnes and Noble, get the book, right? Crypto for Dummies, right? I'm all old school, right? People are like, oh, you just go online and order and you listen to Audible when you're done like that, right? But my point being is that just take a little bit of time, right? I mean, you may not understand crypto. I don't really understand crypto and blockchain, but I've taken some time to get educated, right? And that's the biggest thing that we advocate, whether it's these crazy virtual reality and crypto things you're talking about, or if it's just simply about buying and selling your home, just do a little bit of time to get educated on it, which is our biggest thing, right? We always want to come from a place of education so that our clients are educated, because we feel like an educated client is a strong client, and that is what we want, and that is who we love to work with.
And the younger crowds, I think we have. I mean, it's interesting to hear some of the things that we've heard about how
love our 20-year-olds on our team.
Yeah, because we need to understand that mentality.
Yes.
And that there are very, very sharp people out there, but they don't know how to take calculated risk yet. They're making money, they understand how to work on their own, and are seeing other ways to be entrepreneurial, but they haven't gotten the life experience yet and how that can really play out for them and where to spend it. Some have been really responsible, some have not. I would love to continue to get in front of those individuals to talk about what is this going to look like for you in the long run? What are the goals? We talked to a guy today. What is your financial goal? He didn't have a number.
Yeah.
And that's okay. But it's engaging conversation with those people to kind of get a feel of what that's going to look like and start forward thinking, because they have such an advantage. They grew up with this tech already. They have so much insight into how this all works because their brains naturally went that way. And it does fall into real estate because they're going to have a home and you're going to want to own that home and you're going to want to invest in something to put your equity in a good spot on down the road, aren't you? So digging with them is one of the big trends that I see 2022 doing as well, because so many young people have had their eyes opened up to how to make money in other ways without working for a corporation.
Wait, you mean I don't have to go work for a company for 30 years and get my pension and retire?
I can trade monkey pictures all day online and make hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yes.
It makes me so mad.
Great, yeah, right? I mean, it's something of...
What am I doing?
But it's very real, and I don't know how that part of it's real, but it's there.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's just understanding that, but that is what I like. We're constantly, around our younger generation and open to learning, right? It's a big thing for us to be educated and constantly learning and growing because the industry is changing, the world is changing, and you don't want people with kind of that stagnant, stale thinking there. I think it's an advantage being a Gen Xer. We grew up with basically our boomer parents, right, who kicked the crap out of us, right? Get out there, don't come back till the lights are on, the street lights are on, you better go get a job, right? We knew what hard work was, right? A seatbelt for us was an extension cord that was tied around the back seat there, we grew up in a tough era, I feel like. However, the end of kind of our teen years, this thing called the internet also came along, and it's kind of really kind of catapulted us forward, and we were kind of like this generational
stuck in the middle.
Yeah, and
That's
so
how
I feel
it
like
feels.
I've got this old school working mentality of like, you know, if it's meant to be, it's up to me. I'm going to get out there and I'm going to kick ass and I'll take ownership of it, and it's on me to do that, right? Not anyone else. I don't have this entitlement attitude, right? But it's on me. Also coupled with, I could be a millionaire in my pajamas working from my mom's basement, right? You know, because that is the new millionaire. And it is crazy what the internet and virtual reality and these things have done. And so I want to constantly be tied to that younger generation to say, I don't want to be this old school thinker that says I've got to go to work for 30 years, right?
Yeah, there's one way to do it. That's not true.
How do I tie that hard work ethic together
How do we learn from
with
them?
the thinking that's
You know,
out
and
there
that's why
now
we
today?
have people on our team that are 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25.
And we sit there like this in front of them and listen
Yeah.
to them talking about crypto and the change in virtual reality. Why? Because that's where it's going, and we want to stay.
And it's an
ahead of
investment
it.
opportunity in the future for everyone.
Yeah.
You know?
Cool. Well, I mean, it is crazy. A lot of tech, a lot of change in our industry, a lot of change in the world, but something that doesn't change is the customer service piece, right? And that's what we are always committed to, is taking care of our people, whether it's the client or the agent, right? Whoever it is, we're there. That customer service piece, that is always, to me, going to be the biggest and the number one thing to kind of take care of. As we close out this conversation, Ryan, I'm curious, what thoughts do you have heading into 2022? What is it that you would want to say to anyone looking at maybe joining our team, anyone who's looking at buying or selling, or just maybe a general thought about real estate heading into 2022?
Yeah, I'll go back to what I think is the most simple way to understand what's going on, and that is having a conversation. Take the time to give us a call. Take the time to run into someone and they talk about real estate. Hey, I know someone you need to talk to, because we're going to have a genuine conversation. We're going to dig deep with them and ask the questions that will really lead to good results for them. And then same thing from an agent perspective. If you're looking for a career change and you want to know what real estate is all about, just call us, shoot me a text, ask some questions, and we'll take it from there. There is no pressure. You don't need to worry about being embarrassed. You don't need to worry about asking stupid questions. You don't need to worry about what you know or don't know. It is an open door policy.
Yeah.
And man, I can't tell you how many times people have said, I don't want to waste your time, or I wasn't sure about this and that. And it's like, well, guess what? Me neither.
Yeah.
I've been there, been in the same boat. And just knowing that we need to spread that message for people to be confident and comfortable to ask us questions, and then speak up for me, please. Please, please, please say, hey, I know who you need to talk to. The Nomis Group will give you a great education on what you need to know to make the right decision. That's really what I want to get out there.
Yeah, for me, 2022 is here, and we're going to continue to impact the lives of the people that we serve in our community and make a difference, you know, in their lives and everyone that comes into contact with our organization on a daily basis. And we're constantly looking for those opportunities to help someone in real estate or even outside of real estate. If you know someone who needs some help, someone who's looking for a career change, someone who just needs a helping hand at their house, that is who we are. Like I've said, right? We are a charity disguised as a real estate organization. So if you know someone who's out there who needs some help, that is our mission. It is to impact lives in the communities we serve through real estate. If you know someone who's looking for a career change, looking to get involved into real estate, we have a vision that says we want to create entree leaders who have fun, make money, and make a difference. We've got an amazing culture here at the Nomis Group. And so I would just love to say, anyone who is looking to do anything in real estate, I guess kind of what Ryan said, make sure that you reach out to us. You want someone that you know, that you like, and that you trust, right? And that is who we are with all of our people, and those people that you have the confidence to put us in touch with. So we appreciate you giving us a listen here. This was a lot of fun, Ryan. I always enjoy having conversation with you.
Yep.
And we look forward to doing more of these, and we look forward to helping you guys in 2022.
And I can't wait to go take off this suit and take off my tie and get back in my sports.
Guys will lose. Sweatpants.